Today is Father's Day. We're going to talk about the parable of the lost son in Luke 15, verses 11 through 32. God has given us fathers who love us, even when we mess up and make wrong decisions. Dads are not perfect, and they don't hold it against us for being imperfect. We should appreciate and be thankful for our fathers and remember our Heavenly Father who forgives our sins. Kids will learn that Dad's forgiveness is a reflection of God's forgiveness. Bottom line, be thankful for your dad. Stay tuned for our skit and a word from Captain Cam.
Hi Dad, it's your daughter Layla.
And Layla's twin sister.
Listen Dad, we've been talking about what happened recently and we want you to know we're really sorry.
Sorry, Dad.
Sorry we blew up your Death Star.
It really was a nice Death Star.
It was nice.
And we had no right to blow it up.
It was wrong, we know that.
I mean, you did blow up my home planet with it, but it was still your Death Star.
And we're not supposed to touch your things.
So we're very sorry.
Sorry about shooting all those troopers too.
Yeah, we're sorry about that.
They were just doing their job trying to shoot us.
Because we were trespassing.
And even though they were shooting at us,
And even though they never came close to hitting us.
we're very sorry.
Sorry about all your, sorry we shot all your troopers, Dad.
And sorry about all the droids too.
What about the droids?
Dad was looking for the droids and I told him they weren't the ones he was looking for.
Wait, you lied to Dad?
Well, it was old Ben who lied. He lied to the troopers. They were Dad's troopers and I didn't correct him.
Sorry, Daddy.
Sorry.
Sorry we're such rebels.
Please forgive us.
You have to forgive us.
It's what dads are supposed to do.
Remember the prodigal son's father, Dad?
He forgave his rebellious son,
So please forgive your rebellious princess.
and me too.
Oh, thanks, Dad. See you at the picnic.
Yeah, see you at the picnic.
I'm bringing a casserole.
I'm bringing blue milk.
We love you, Dad.
Hey everybody, welcome to this week's Bible lesson. And the lesson this week is called Honor Your Father, because today is Father's Day. And, fathers, they play this really important role in our lives. They do so much for us in our lives. And sometimes fathers, are kind of serious and in that serious mode when they're taking care of going out and working and providing for the family and sometimes they have to be the bad guy when you get in trouble and stuff like that. And then sometimes dads have this funny side to them. Sometimes they act like a big kid, and sometimes dads probably even get that look that your mom gives you sometimes when you're in trouble, because sometimes dads go a little too far, so mom has to give them that look too. Another thing about dads is that they're imperfect. They don't do everything right all the time, which is one of the reasons they get in trouble with mom. But because they're imperfect and they know that they need to be forgiven, they know that you're imperfect and that you need to be forgiven. And so that's kind of what this story is going to be about today, is talking about a father and a son and messing up and being imperfect and forgiveness. And it comes from Luke chapter 15, and it goes from verse 11 to verse 32. And it says, to illustrate the point further, Jesus told them this story. A man has 2 sons. The younger son told his father, I want my share of your estate now before you die. So his father agreed to divide his wealth between his sons. A few days later, this younger son packed all his belongings and moved to a distant land. And there he wasted all his money in wild living. About the time his money ran out, a great famine swept over the land, and he began to starve. He persuaded a local farmer to hire him, and the man sent him into his fields to feed the pigs. The young man became so hungry that even the pods he was feeding the pigs looked good to him, but no one gave him anything. When he finally came to his senses, he said to himself, at home even the hired servants have food enough to spare, and here I am dying of hunger. I will go home to my father and say, Father, I have sinned against both heaven and you. and I am no longer worthy of being called your son. Please take me on as a hired servant." So he returned home to his father, and while he was still a long way off, his father saw him coming. Filled with love and compassion, he ran to his son, embraced him, and kissed him. His son said to him, "Father, I have sinned against both heaven and you, and I am no longer worthy of being called your son." But his father said to the servants, "Quick, bring the finest robe in the house and put it on him. Get a ring for his finger and sandals for his feet. And kill the calf we have been fattening. We must celebrate with a feast. For this son of mine was dead and has now returned to life. He was lost, but now he is found." So the party began. Meanwhile, the older son was in the fields working. When he returned home, he heard music and dancing in the house, and he asked one of the servants what was going on. "Your brother is back," he was told, "and your father has killed the fattened calf. We are celebrating because of his safe return." The older brother was angry and wouldn't go in. His father came out and begged him, but he replied, "All these years I've slaved for you and never once refused to do a single thing you told me to. And in all that time you never gave me even one young goat for a feast with my friends. Yet when this son of yours comes back after squandering your money on prostitutes, you celebrate by killing the fattened calf." His father said to him, "Look, dear son, you have always stayed with me, and everything I have is yours. We had to celebrate this happy day, for your brother was dead and has come back to life. He was lost, but now he is found." Jesus was the greatest teacher and storyteller who ever lived. He told these parables, and they're not necessarily true stories, but they're stories that he tells to get a certain point across, to give you examples of true things. And, so that there are these teachable moments, and he told certain parables to certain people because he knew that would help them understand whatever it was he was trying to teach. And look, in this story, you had this son that was being bad. If you just want to put it in simple terms, he was being bad. Normally you get an inheritance after someone dies, but he wanted his inheritance now. And so he took the inheritance and he went and spent it on bad things, and he spent all the money, and then he ended up having to get a job feeding pigs, and then he wanted to eat the food that the pigs were eating because he was starving to death. And in the story, what's really, really cool is that, he said he wanted what he was going to tell his dad, that he had sinned against him and heaven. But before he even had a chance to say that to his father, it says that his father saw him a long way off. So the dad was waiting for him to come home. He was keeping a lookout for him because he cared about him and he loved him so much. And so, he ran to him. He didn't wait for the son to come to him. He ran to him, and he embraced him and hugged him and told him how much he loved him. And then the son said he didn't deserve to be a son, that he wanted to be a hired servant. But then the dad's like, no, that's not how it's going to be. He told his servants to go get this fattened calf so that they could celebrate. And he said this twice. He said it to the servants, and he said it to the other son later on. He said, this son that was dead is now alive. He's come back. He's come back to life. And the older son, or the other son, was not happy. But he said, but you're going to get everything that I have. But we have to celebrate the son that came back. And so, that's what dads are supposed to do. Dads are supposed to forgive. And even when we mess up. And they do. And look, I know, all of y'all, might not have a dad at home. Sometimes dads don't do what they're supposed to do. They don't stick around and teach you lessons about life and love on you and joke around with you and all that kind of things. I know that happens. And hopefully God has put another man in your life that can, be that father figure, and, somebody that can love you and hug you and tell you when you're doing wrong and teach you how to do right and everything. But there's one father that will never run away. And he will always be there for you, and that's God. Regardless of who's not in your life, God will always be there. But just like that earthly father knows that you're imperfect, and you may even get in trouble. If you break a window or a toy or something like that, or somebody's going to get on to you, and they may even make you help pay for the repairs or help with the repairs. But that father's still going to love you, even though he, makes there be consequences when you mess up. And God's the same way. There's still going to be consequences when you mess up. But God will always love you. He will always forgive you when you mess up. He will always be there to guide you in the right direction. And so, God is this, He's the example of what daddies are supposed to be. And so, since today's Father's Day, just thank God for daddies. And not just thank God for daddies, but go thank your daddy and let him know how much you appreciate him and how much you love him. And look, as long as they're following God, they're going to be good daddies. And but anyway, so like I said, just go thank your daddies for who they are and for everything they do for you, and don't forget to thank God in the process. He's the one that sets the standard. So that's the lesson for today, and we will see y'all again next week. Bye-bye.